My name is Shanna Adamic, and I have been a Cerner associate and a first-hand associate for more than 15 years, and I've been a contributor since day one. I've always believed in what we do at First Hand. We make a direct impact in the lives of children that fall through the gaps of healthcare, as well as build population health models. It's been ingrained in me as an associate through the years that healthcare is personal, and you can see that on the First Hand side when you see the families who come to us for help. And I never expected healthcare to be this personal, and maybe it's just not this personal this soon in my life. So I struggled with a few symptoms for several years. I was dizzy, I had fatigue, I sometimes had brain fog. I mean, everyone can relate to those symptoms. And then I did have some mild hearing loss, but it was just very slight. My husband wanted to take us on an anniversary trip to Sonoma. So excited to go. I remember being on the plane that day and thinking, God, I'm just so tired. And I kind of fell asleep. My husband nudged me and woke me up as he's watching an interview with Maria Menounos on the Today Show on his iPad. And he said, babe, you gotta listen to this. Those symptoms, they sound just like yours. We got off the plane and I called over here actually to my doctor here at Cerner who had recommended a specialist. And so a few weeks later, when I actually go into that appointment, the test took about 10 minutes. And after that 10 minutes, he looked at me and said, okay, he goes, I'm gonna tell you what I think is going on. I think there's something that's sitting right by your ear that's blocking the signal to your brain. So they sent me to the MRI, and within the next 24 hours, I found out the type of brain tumor I had was called an acoustic neuroma. It grew on my hearing nerve. And the hard part was it was considered life-threatening because it was pressing into my brainstem. An interesting point was that this had been growing for over 15 years. And so surgery was needed, and it was needed really soon. What did that look like? The first plan we received said they were going to try and manage this. They were going to go in and get out as much of the tumor as they possibly could. They were going to use radiation to try and shrink it, and then they were going to go back in for a second surgery. I actually sent Maria Menounos an email, but because I just wanted to send it to her to let her know that, and it brings tears to my eyes, that I truly feel like that interview saved my life. She said to me, she said, do you have a second opinion? Are you going to get a second opinion? And then she said, I think you should. And I stopped and said, wow, you don't work at Cerner for 15 years and not know you get that second opinion. I didn't know how I was gonna get a second opinion. I started writing down all my resources, who I knew at Cerner, who might know somebody else, because our network is pretty large. And I posted a picture on the only social media outlet that I have of our family. And I got a direct message from someone who's pretty special to me that I haven't seen in maybe 17 years that I went to college with. Her name is Amy Pittman. She asked me if she could give me a call. She said, Shauna, I don't know if you know what I do right now. And she goes, but I'm a facial nerve reconstruction surgeon at Loyola Medical. And the doctors that I work with, Dr. Doug Anderson and Dr. John Leonetti, have done more acoustic neuroma surgeries than almost anyone in the country. And the next day when the doctors got out of clinics, Dr. John Leonetti gave me a call and he talked to me and he said, you were right to get in a second opinion. He goes, I'm happy that Dr. Pittman referred you and we'd like to see you in Chicago. He basically told me, he said, our goal is to go in and get as much, if not all of the tumor if we can. He goes, it's gonna be a big surgery with a big outcome. We knew this was gonna be a difficult journey when we decided on Chicago. What we didn't realize was how much love, support, and just the outpour of hope we would receive from coworkers, friends, and family. It started with that same person who reached out to me, Amy Pittman, Dr. Pittman, who offered us the ability to stay in her house, and she would take care of us after I was released from the hospital for the 2 weeks following. When we looked at, okay, who's gonna take care of our kids and our house, and really it was the kids I was worried about, it was an amazing list of people, and even some that I worked with, that were gonna take care of the kids. So I knew I didn't have to worry. All we had to do was go get help. On January 10th, 2018, when we left Kansas City for Chicago, I when I tell this story, I tell people that that was the hardest moment of this entire process because I had to say goodbye to my 2 kids. And I remember my daughter looking at me and she said, "Mommy, are you gonna come back?" And in my mind, I thought, take a deep breath and smile. And I was filled with so much hope from the support I was receiving that I knew I would. So the morning of my surgery, I was energized. I was just ready to go. I looked at my husband and I told him, I was like, I just want to get on the other side of surgery and get into recovery. We got into the room, my mom was there, Jeff was there, and the care team was there rallying, pumping me up, and Amy came in, and I started to cry when I saw Amy because you can't imagine how thankful I was that she reached out to me. Maria had actually planned a surprise with my husband, which I didn't know was going to happen. And I had shared with Maria during several of our conversations that the only song I was listening to at that time was "This Is My Fight Song" by Rachel Platten. And she had reached out to Rachel and asked Rachel to record a message to me. So that morning, Jeff said, "Hey, we have a surprise for you." And he showed me a recording from Rachel that said, "Hi, Shanna, this is Rachel. And I just want to let you know that you are going to do amazing this surgery. And I just want to fill you with some hope." And I was so emotional and so taken back by so many people who would care about me. And then my husband leaned over and he said in my ear, where I was losing the hearing, and he said, "I love you." And that is the very last thing I heard in my right ear. So over the next 10.5 hours, I went through a surgery where they went through 2 points in my head, here and here, gave me the best haircut of my life, and they wanted their best chance at getting most of the tumor, not all of it. They actually told my husband during the procedure when they went and talked to him, they said that it wasn't like any other tumor they had seen and that it was pressing pretty far into my brainstem and it had pressed so far into my facial nerve that it was translucent. When I woke up, they told me a few things. My head was wrapped and covering my ear, and they had said the surgery went really well. I had permanently lost the hearing on my right side. They also told me that I had temporary right side facial paralysis. I couldn't close my eye all the way, I couldn't smile, I couldn't chew, and I couldn't swallow. All the expression was coming from my left side. They also said when I lost my hearing, I would also lose my ability to balance, my equilibrium on my right side. So there'd be need for rehab to help me regain and relearn how to walk on my own without help or the use of a walker. But they also told me that they removed 98% of the tumor, that it was benign, and they were confident it would never grow back. Regardless of the side effects of the surgery, those words were amazing to hear because in that moment, I saw myself being a wife and a mom. On day 3, I actually walked with assistance, which was a huge deal. And I remember walking down the hall with a little bit with my head down. I wasn't sure of a step and it was kind of shaky, but man, it felt good just to even be able to take a step. And on day 5, when they discharged me from the hospital, and they had a shortage of wheelchairs actually. And so we sat there for a while and I remember looking over at my husband, seeing a walker, and I turned to him and said, "Babe, get me that walker, we're walking out of the hospital." And so we got up, I walked the length of Loyola Medical out of the hospital and into recovery. And I thought to myself during the several weeks to follow, I can either sit in recovery or I can go back and do what I love to do, and that's here at Cerner and firsthand. Everyone can think of a time in their life when healthcare has been personal. To you, to a family member, to a friend, someone you love, and you've needed support. You've needed to have something that gave you hope. Through firsthand, you are providing that hope and that support. You've changed the lives of more than 400,000 children and families around the world. And this is just the beginning.